Good evening. Um, I just wanted to talk about Sonic movie 3, Sonic the Hedgehog 3. Cause I just saw it a second time, and I have plans for a third, but I just wanted. It's one of those movies that I just wanted to talk about and get my thoughts out there. Um, I don't even know where to start, but before this movie came out, like every movie nowadays that I want to see, I try to keep as blind as possible. But I did get spoiled on two things that I can remember, and that was Gerald Robotnik being like alive in this film, um, and Randall coming back, and Rachel. The first one was a trailer. I went and saw a different movie, and there was a trailer for Sonic 3, and I unfortunately got spoiled on that. Um, Also, some of the kind of beginning scenes, and the second one I kind of willfully got spoiled, I guess, because it was minor to me, but I ended up kind of regretting it. But I don't like spoilers because I start to form an opinion on, or like in my head, I feel like you kind of subconsciously start to think about what the movie might be, like how it might go, and what might happen based on what you now know about it. Um, Basically, what I'm saying is I had expectations for this movie, certain expectations that things were going to go a certain way, and they went a different way, and that's not a bad thing. Obviously, I don't want to predict the whole movie. That's not really what I'm trying to get out, even though it sounds like it. But I guess I really expected to end up kind of loving this. But I don't really love it. I think it's really good. I think it's pretty good. Probably close to excellent in my eyes, but it wasn't like my absolute favorite. It wasn't like 10 out of 10 amazing, in my head. To me, like, and I expected that based on previous movies, based on the lead up to this movie, based on my newfound love of Sonic Adventure 2, and this being kind of adapting that movie a bit. And I just don't know why it's not going to the next level for me, because by all accounts, and this is partially the knee-jerk reaction, not knee-jerk, what do you say, recency bias, I guess. But this movie just came out, and the reception has been exceptional. Exception? What's the word I'm looking for? You know it. I know you're probably saying it right now. Reception. The reception for this movie has been out of this world. Like, the critic reviews are really good, and also the audience. What people have been saying has been like glowing reviews, and I didn't quite expect that. I expected them to be good, great, but I didn't expect them to be near perfect, and that's what I've been seeing. And my feelings on this movie are good to great, but they're not near perfect, and I expect it to be in that camp too. And it's weird feeling outside this, because for the first movie, the reception was that it was pretty good. It was okay-ish. It was good. And I felt the same. I thought it was good. I actually liked it a bit more than most other people, but I thought it was pretty good. The second movie had glowing reviews, and I felt that way about that movie. I thought it was excellent. And this one also has glowing reviews, but maybe even more so than the second one. And for me, it's not there. It's a little under the second one. I prefer the second movie. In in some regards. I was going to say most regards, but it's just some regards. I think it just comes together better than this. And I've been trying to place my finger on why that is, why I'm not absolutely loving this, and I wanted to record this because I don't think a third viewing is going to change that. My opinions on most movies don't change after the second time. Well, movies can grow on me or kind of sour on me a bit, but it's usually not drastic. And I don't expect my opinions to change on this anytime soon, if they do. But I've been trying to place my finger on why. And I've been thinking about this a lot. There's two things. The first one I've been thinking about, like, expectation versus I was gonna say versus reality, but that's someone else's thing. Or how expectations can not alter, but yeah, how they can alter your enjoyment of things. Is knowing, like, how you might know a certain something about something, or like a spoiler, or putting like all your eggs in one basket and then ending up not really liking it, type of thing. I've been thinking about that a lot lately, and how that can really affect an experience. And I just would like to try to minimize that as much as possible. That's why I don't watch trailers anymore. Other than the fact that they just outright tell you the whole movie half the time, or they just spoil everything. But I just don't want to be influenced. I'd rather go in completely blind and form my own opinion on the spot, using the, what do you call it? Like, using the own movie's merits and the actual movie's, like, setups, and feeling how it's crafted you to feel, and not how I've been thinking it's gonna make me feel. Also, like, behind the scenes stuff, like director, what do you call it? Like interviews and stuff like that. They can paint a picture that might not actually be true, or might not be quite what the actual product is putting forward. So I've just been trying to keep away from everything. I don't think those two spoilers did that for me, but I'm sure it influenced a bit, but not enough to change my overall opinion on how I feel about this thing. The second one, and probably the most true, is adaptations. This kind of goes hand in hand with expectations, but when something is adapting something that you've experienced already, I feel like, not necessarily, but it's like assumed that it will draw a direct comparison between the two if you're familiar with both of them. I feel like that when I know the source material, I'm going to be looking and really noticing every single difference. I'm going to notice what it does better or worse in my eyes. Just how each of them compare, just off the merit of the fact that one of them is drawing from the other. How well does it do that? How does it choose to do that? And it's a hard thing because you can't really disconnect from the source material, I feel like, in a lot of these cases. It's hard for me to, for this example, this movie specifically, it's hard for me not to think about Sonic Adventure 2, not to think about the story that I fell in love with, each minute detail that I've really poured over lately, and just really come to appreciate, and how that all forms together to create an excellent narrative, one of the best that Sonic has, and a real highlight of storytelling, in my opinion, in video games, and just everything. And I go into this movie, I feel like even though I don't want to, like I might be subconsciously um, drawing those comparisons in my head. Because obviously, this movie is is a lesser story than Sonic Adventure 2, like just pound for pound. Um, it's partially from the fact. Um, I don't just feel that way, but just from the fact that it adapts way less. It adapts a sliver of the story that is told in Sonic Adventure 2, which is Shadow's story, which I do think it does quite well. But because it's so, it's very by the hip to what came before, it's harder to not draw comparisons with. And this is not just this movie, but anything that's an adaptation. And I think the thing with Sonic Movie 1 and Movie 2 is like Movie 1 is mostly original story. There's very little in there that's actually Sonic related. And because of that, it can reap those benefits of it just being a good, fun, emotional story on its own merit with shades of characters that I recognize and like. And this is not just the movies. Like again, like any franchise, like the TV shows, like Adventures of Sonic the Hedgehog, or like even other games like Sonic Boom or something. How does it try to do its own thing with this existing characters, this existing world? And how does that? Even though we don't want to, even though me personally I don't like to compare, your brain is going to compare the two because one's based off the other, like I said. And I think the difference with like even Adventures of Sonic the Hedgehog or something like Sad AM or the comics, even differentiating between those TV shows I just mentioned, is they really go all in on their own identity. And I'm not saying that Sonic Movie 3 sticking so close to Sonic Adventure 2 where it can is a bad thing, but again, it just draws a direct comparison, and I just end up feeling like I'm experiencing a narrative that was done way better elsewhere. Even though it's a different medium, I just feel like it's there's no real comparison from a story perspective. With movie 2, because it's adapting the original trilogy, which is not. I'm not saying it doesn't have a narrative, but it's a much more loose. It's not as rigid as a story. Obviously, like there's no voice acting. There's a few cutscenes, mostly told through gameplay. Sometimes environmental storytelling, stuff of that nature. Because it's so loose in its narrative that when you make an adaptation like Sonic Movie 2, you can really do whatever you want as long as you hit those certain points. And I felt like it did it exceptionally well. And I feel like Sonic Movie 3 does it well too. But it's up against a much more rigid, much more comparable to movies, video game, between that and the classic Sonic games. And I just feel like I much enjoy what Adventure 2 had to offer. And I guess, and it's weird because I'm always talking about, I feel like I'm always complaining about stuff not being faithful enough, or being, in this case, too faithful. It's like a middle ground that's very hard to hit in my eyes. Like Speed Racer, the movie, it kind of just takes the concepts of the show and it does its own thing with those, like those chess pieces on a whole different board. And I feel like this Sonic 3 was more the chess pieces but only the black spaces are from the old board, but the white spaces are from the new board, which are the movies, and it's like a hodgepodge, you know. And again, this movie's done so well. I think what is here is real excellent, but it's hard for me to really disconnect myself. Is I think what's the issue there, and I think not that this movie is bad, but you open yourself to that type of direct comparison when you stick so close to the source material. But also you don't really stick close to it because you have your own original stuff that you want to dabble in. And I feel like, I guess movie 2 did a better job with that. With really just, it's Knuckles, and you kind of get a few of the zones in there. And Tails is kind of just inoffensive because we haven't really got his moment. I guess we can get into specifics. I'm still waiting on Tails to get his moment. I think he's really good in this movie. I really liked. Full spoilers. I didn't say that yet. Full spoilers. I don't think I've said any yet. But yeah. From here on out, yeah, full spoilers. I don't think I've said any so far, but I think Tails. How do I say it? I really like him in this movie. Like when he threw Sonic through the gun shield, I thought that was excellent. But I'm still waiting on his moment, and maybe we'll get it next movie 4, which might be about adventure. Hopefully, kind of. Speaking of that, I heard something about New York sign was supposed to be Station Square, which may be the case. I don't think that post-credit scene was going to be taken literal, the same way that the Sonic 1 post-credit scene didn't actually take place when we saw it. In movie 2, it took place like at a whole different time. But yeah, I can see that, and I don't like. Metal looks great. It's been high time. I've been complaining about the robots not really feeling very distinctive. They feel very generic. I do think this movie does better with it. Like the Eclipse Cannon has a lot of personality. The crab robot was really cool. I actually really love that, even though it didn't get into any action. I thought it was really cool. I think Eggman's sleek white designs are cool. They're uniquely this movie franchise's ilk, if that makes sense. But they can kind of get lost in the sauce of like just generic action movie robots in my eyes. But anyway, Dr. Stone was excellent. This is probably the best character in this movie. Shadow was really, really good. He was, quite excellent. I think my only issue is he needs more material. I think, and again, I just have to bring up the direct comparison. But Maria, the scenes were really good, but her death scene, the final nail that you really need to tie the story together. Her final words, and I get why they didn't, because they're playing off Sonic and Shadow having their life experiences instead of and Sonic really inspiring Shadow through his character to make the right choice, instead of Maria's words sticking with him and really forming him to pursue the path that he does, in the story. So I get why they did it. Maria was just there to be a lost tool, but in that you kind of lose. It's a lot more one-dimensional in my eyes, unfortunately, and I don't think I'll bring that up. Well, yeah, I feel like a lot of people, a lot of the fans, they really like to boil Maria down to what happened to her, the tragedy, not really as a person or as a character. And despite, other than the fact that I just kind of find that disgusting, I think there's, how do you say it? There's a lot lost when you do the same for an adaptation. She's kind of just there to die, to be a loss for Shadow to get be fueled by rage. The same thing kind of happens to Sonic, in this movie, again, to draw a direct comparison to themselves, direct opposition. Speaking of Sonic and Shadow, it doesn't really work for me that Shadow is just vastly overpowered compared to Sonic. Every meeting, he pretty much wipes the floor with Sonic. And with Knuckles, it was a lot more close. And even though Sonic lost to Knuckles, pretty much twice, if you really think about it. Did he? Yeah, pretty much twice. How do I say it? It's not as energizing. It's not as entertaining or interesting for Shadow to just be simply superior to not just Sonic, but every other character. He's just way better than. And for me, it just doesn't really do it. It kind of, and I really don't like, this kind of goes back to what I was saying at the beginning. I don't like making like out of universe connections to real life stuff, but it just kind of feels like the makers were big Sonic Shadow fans, or they just really wanted to have people who are Shadow fans to be satisfied, so they just made them insanely strong. And to be fair, because they don't touch on the whole storyline of Shadow and Sonic being connected in any way, like in the original game, there's no real huge need for them to be on par with each other like they are in the game. But again, it's just from this movie's own merits, it's not as interesting to me to watch. Just Shadow be way better than Sonic just kind of feels. And it's not like they don't do anything with it. They're kind of getting at this movie. One of the themes is that Sonic needs help. He's not alone, which is fine. I think him making the mistake was good. I do think it's a decent continuation of that theme in movie 2, you could say, because that kind of comes to a head only towards the end, I'd say. But because it was already kind of touched in movie 2, it doesn't really hit as hard for me in movie 3. That Sonic needs help and he can't do this thing alone, because we already got that. And this is an aside, but I'm kind of worried they're gonna run out of life lessons to teach Sonic. I do think I had a friend who said something online a while ago. He said, man, it's really gonna Spider-Man and Sonic, it's unfortunate that it's probably gonna take 3 movies until they reach to the point to that they're at the characters that they are in their source media. He didn't say it. He didn't say it exactly word for word like that, but what he's getting at is like these characters, not that they aren't complete, but they're not the same in all aspects. They're not put together, if that makes sense. Sonic is still learning, if that makes sense. He's still got a lot to do. In the game, Sonic off rip is he's his own person. That's a big component of Sonic. This series is Sonic is he is who he is. He knows who he is, and he's embracing of that. And because of that, he's much stronger. Not that his way of life is better, but his the strength of his character, not physically, but the strength of his inner character is much stronger than, for the most part, those around him. Those who struggle with who they are, like Knuckles and like Tails and Amy. That's been a component of at least the games that I've played. And like Sonic is a flat character who doesn't really change all that much, but he inspires those around him, and he makes a change on his outward world. his outward facing world changes because of who he is and who he stays true to, right? But this Sonic, because they have to put in themes which I do really like or do really love, but that's a difference between him and I'm just saying that I'm kind of worried that they're gonna run out of good advice that Tom can give. I think it'd be cool if Sonic learns something from one of the new characters that he meets. I think that would be good. But for now, in all three, maybe not in the first one, but for 2 and 3, really kind of redoes the concept from 2, where they introduce something that Sonic needs to work on at the beginning, and then by the end, it's resolved, or he's gotten to the point that he needed to be. And I'm just I guess we can just continue talking about this, but I feel something about that end credit scene makes me feel that they're just going to keep, hopefully not recycling this formula, but they're going to, recycle the formula. They're going to keep doing that, until they get through all the main stories that they could do or that they want to do. And I'm a little worried. I think that the next movie shouldn't have any Supersonic in it. I don't think it should have Shadow in it, personally. And they really have a lot of different avenues that they can go down right now. And I'm worried because of really investors, because of Paramount, that they're going to see all these characters that people like. Obviously, Shadow is a big draw. He's a big enough Sonic character that he brings in money. And I just feel like he's going to be in every movie from now to get more money, and that's going to be the main focus. And I worry that we're going to lose the quality that we've been getting, and I just hope that's not the case. But it just feels like from that end credit scene, the mid credit scene, that we're going to be getting a lot of this movie set up over and over, which is not necessarily a bad thing. I hope they stay this level of quality throughout. That's all I can really ask for. To be enjoyable enough. That's what I feel like. Not that I found this movie enjoyable enough. I found it quite enjoyable, really enjoyable. But it definitely wasn't. Again, it wasn't to the heights that I had hoped or I'd wanted. And who knows what's gonna happen. If we get Adventure next time, it unfortunately might be the same situation. If we get a CD, then I don't know, it could be much more interesting, and I guess we'll see. Yeah, it's like on one hand, I'm kind of worried that they're just going to keep pumping them out like they are. On the other hand, it's like, as long as they're at this level of quality, it should be fine. Some things, the shot composition of this movie was excellent. There's some absolutely amazing shots in this movie. The action was really, really good. Pretty much what I wanted from 2. That being that it was great, but I just needed more, and I got more in this movie. The shot of Sonic like hitting Shadow across the earth, and it just cuts to like a different area of the earth, and he punches him again, and then it cuts to another, and he kicks him again. It was so amazing, man. That stuck with me. That's what's really stuck with me since I've seen it. I guess. Oh, I was talking about Maria. That scene, for me, it just didn't come full circle because she didn't have anything to say while she was. She just died, and that's what I mean about it. It felt very flat and kind of one note that she just needed to die, and I get why they did, but because there's no, again, like I get why they did, but because of that, I just don't feel that strongly about Maria. She kind of just feels like a sacrifice or something like that for the story. It just doesn't really hit the mark for me, even though the scenes with her were really nice. And I like the words that she gave to Shadow when they're seeing the stars and stuff like that. I liked all the, there weren't as many Easter eggs, I felt like, but I liked the references, like her dress, for example, the Bio Lizard. think a good example of what I mean is like the eclipse cannon hitting the moon was it wasn't like a big moment like it is in Sonic Adventure 2. Like it's just kind of they did it just to stick to the original, but it didn't really leave the impact that it does in Adventure 2 because the tones are different, the intentionality behind both scenes are different. Like one is like showing the absolute threat and magnitude that Eggman's at this point. The other is just kind of I won't say it was a joke. The first time I felt like it was a complete joke, but it's just kind of like again, it's just kind of like, oh, we had to do it. It's a bitter reminder of this movie, but the actual like destruction itself was just kind of throwaway, you know. Oh, what's his name? Gerald. I just didn't really care for that much. And it's weird because there's not that much of a difference between him and Adventure 2 in here. Just instead of him being a looming presence and influence in Adventure 2, he's like a actual presence and influence in movie 3. The first time I watched it, I thought it was too much of Jim Carrey just kind of doing his thing. The second time was much more bearable, but I just don't feel too strongly either way. That's kind of like the whole movie. I really like it, but I don't love it. It's not to that next level for me. I don't feel very connected to it because it's such an in between of new and imitation, you know. Even though I thought it was really well done, I'm kind of hoping movie 4 is a little bit more original. I think it will be. I know people kind of get heated about this, but I do think we're getting like Girl Boss Amy off rip. I don't really mind it as long as she's still. I think if we don't get old Amy, we're not really getting her progression, and we haven't got it from Tails at all. So there's kind of an open hole of that progression. I guess we're kind of getting it with Sonic, but even then, Sonic wasn't. He wasn't a scared, like, coward kid in the first one, like Tails was in Adventure. He wasn't someone who needed to find his own 2 feet, like Amy was in Adventure and CD and stuff like that. And I feel like because they've been rewriting Amy in the actual franchise lately, I'm fine with her like being that way now, but because they're trying to cover up the history and just like rewrite the past, for me it's lesser. We're losing character development, we're losing storytelling by doing that, and I do think we're getting a Girl Boss Amy off rip, and I feel like we're gonna lose that character progression, that storytelling, and I'm not sure what they're gonna do with her, because I fear that they're gonna cut out her compassion too, and I fear that they're gonna cut out her love for not just others, but love for Sonic. And I feel like that's going to be a massive loss, because I would actually really like to see that chemistry in the movie franchise. I think that would be excellent. I think that would be really fun, and I just fear we're going to miss out on it for a almost unrecognizable version of the character. I think she's going to be closer to Boom, Amy, which from what I've seen, what little I've seen, is not bad, but again, it's going to feel neutered, I feel, which is a shame, because they've done such an excellent job with Knuckles and Shadow. You know, Tails is a bit of a loss, unfortunately, in my eyes. It's unfortunate. I thought we were going to get his moment here, but we still haven't got it. I just hope at some point they do it, and it will rectify my gripes I've been having with him. Same with what happened to Wade. Wade, I really liked his thing. I really liked that they acknowledged the Knuckles show. I was worried we were either going to get a lot of references to the Knuckles show, or only a little bit, or only none. I thought it was going to be either or, but we actually got a bit of it. I thought that was excellent. We saw Knuckles Flames of Disaster for a moment when he broke the shield. I thought that was really cool. What else I gotta say? There's a lot of little things I can mention, but I don't know. I guess I just feel like I guess this is the time to mention them, right? But I don't know. I guess let's see. Eggman's sacrifice was excellent. I thought that was probably the emotional height of the movie. Oh, it wasn't Shadow? No. Again, I feel like I do feel like Shadow's redemption scene was excellent. It was, again, the shot composition was amazing. And the stars, they still shine bright type of thing. That was really nice. I do think it wasn't, I don't know, it wasn't as graceful. It was very quick, his change. After rewatching though, it felt better because I think they did well with showing that Knuckles is just, not Knuckles, Shadow is just, he's lost. He's not necessarily an evil person. He's just very lost in his mission. He doesn't actually really want to do it. But I feel like, again, that they could have hammered that home because they kind of completely, there's no real delving into what his purpose is, or what Shadow perceives as his own purpose at the beginning. There's just a line about he doesn't know who he is, and then Maria's like, you can be whatever you want to be. Which kind of implies that Shadow has the innate desire to do good, and not that he chooses to do it, but he just wants to, which it doesn't really, it's just not as strong for me, I wish that was delved into. This movie, the pacing is pretty good, but I feel like a couple scenes like those I really wish were a little more drawn out. This movie's good spectacle. I think that's why a lot of people are liking it. It's not without substance, but what's there isn't as strong for me as what I think I would like it to be, I guess, I really like that, the movies have remained true to the emotional moments. I really like that. I hope they stay true to that. Some of the jokes the second time around were really draining, especially from Sonic. Even more so than Eggman on my first viewing. I feel like, and this isn't anything new, but because this movie gets into it a lot quicker, it feels more draining. When he's doing his full routine in the middle of the serious moments, because there's a lot fewer of the more downtime and playful moments like there were in the other two movies. The jokes feel kind of out of place. I've been being so negative. I don't mean to sound like it, but again, I really like this movie. I guess since I've watched it twice now, I see where I would like things to be different, or where I would like more of certain things or less of other things. I thought Rachel and Randall's appearances were very tasteful. I really liked what they did there. I was worried after the second movie. In my head, I figured they had two ways to go. They could continue on what they were doing, which was being closer to the games, which we did get, or they would continue where they were, which was heavy on the original stuff. And now, after seeing this movie, I think I do miss the greater balance of those two. I think being close to the games is kind of like flying too close to the sun, you don't really stand a chance, unfortunately. But what else we got? I thought the more serious tone, and I think this is offset by all the constant joking, but overall the more serious-ish tone was good. It was a nice change. That and the pacing were probably the two biggest differences between the other movies, but for the most part, it does feel like the third of a line of movies, Sonic movies, and I thought it was good. I'm going to talk about it because it's fun to talk about. I know it's kind of probably perceived as toxic, but I feel that a lot of casuals and not really hardcore Sonic fans are the ones that are really gassing this movie to high heaven. Where more so some of the more hardcore people, they've liked it like I have, and they're saying it's amazing like I have been saying, but I haven't been seeing the same outpour as I have from these people who aren't really deep into the series, which is, it's a good thing, but I guess I'm just glad I'm not alone in that feeling, that I didn't love it as much as everyone, the general populace, seems to be loving it, which is a bit of a shame. It's just how it is. What else we got? I feel like there's a lot to talk about, but I can't even remember it. Knuckles was MVP of this movie. They did really well by him. He gets a lot of the moments, and I do hope, again, I hope this is all, I'm going to keep coping and say that this is all set up for Tails to get his moment, because even Tails fails a lot in this movie. Maybe not a lot, but he fails in this movie, and Knuckles has to pick up the slack. And I just hope it's kind of building to Tails really having his big moment. I feel like there were less game references in this one, which is so odd. Like, the Easter eggs, I feel like, just weren't as many. But that might not be true, but it just feels that way. This movie feels very fast and loose, I'd say. Like, again, they just get into the action almost instantly, and it kind of loses some of that groundedness. Where it does shine, I think, is when they go full into that. I think Super Sonic vs. Super Shadow was some of the best stuff I've seen put to screen. I said this after I got out of the first one, but if they ever do a Dragon Ball movie in live action again, they need to be taking notes from this. And I do think, the people who made this were obviously pretty inspired by anime. It felt like, not just like with the Akira slide and stuff like that, even though that was excellent. What else? I think we've gotten to most of it. I'm kind of worried the deaths aren't going to hit as hard when they keep playing with it. Tom, it made sense, and I think they sufficiently explained that he was just in critical condition. But if Eggman comes back again, I know it's the Jim Carrey real life stuff, and that's why I don't like knowing this stuff about the behind the scenes, but I know it's because Jim Carrey, he's retired. But the fact that this is the second time in a row where they pretty much imply that he died, and he may or may not come back again, is it's a little draining. It doesn't hit as hard, and it's going to start taking away from the real deaths, if we get any. But even, I feel like it's going to retroactively kind of take away from Maria and stuff. I hope not, but I kind of feel that way. I've been saying that Stone needs to take over. After the second one, I said it would be cool if Stone takes over as like a Snively, taking over, at least for a while. I don't know. It's kind of a logistical problem if Jim Carrey is going to be gone for good, because you kind of need Eggman for some of the stories if they get to them. That's why I kind of have an inkling that they might go original somewhere down the line. It's like we're at a turning point. I think we're at a crossroads in the series right now. I think it'll be interesting to see. I'm pleased that The fourth one is coming out in 2027. I feel like, actually, they've all been kind of 2 years apart, haven't they? I don't know, but it feels like less of a gut punch than movie 3 coming out at the end of 2024. I felt like that felt so long away whenever we heard about that. But yeah, I enjoyed the movie. It was a good theater experience, I'd say. It was fun. I went with friends. That was fun. It's just an enjoyable film, I wish it was a bit more, but I'm very glad what we got. The production was really good. I really like the practical effects they've been using. The CG was excellent. I don't know how, but they keep making this stuff look better and better. What else? Oh, I said Stone was great, didn't I? Yeah, he's acted really well. I really liked the character moments. The emotional core was strong in this one. I am really appreciative of that. But I guess lately I've been in like a emotional core. The emotion is the most important part of any product to me, any type of story to me, and I guess this kind of is a kind of eye opener to that's not really the case. It's there's a lot more than that to a story. I recognize that now. So we'll see. We'll see. No, jeez. I'm so sorry. But we'll see how it goes along. Yeah. I feel like I had more to say, but I don't know. I'm so tired right now. But yeah, that's all I gotta say on Sonic 3. I think. Have a good morning, good night, and goodbye.